Tink's banana bread. Um, Tink Johnson became a very, very important part of my life after my mother died. And we were living in Gießen, Germany, which was 40 miles north of Frankfurt. And Tink and her husband, Hank, were in business in Frankfurt. And as often as we could, we would go down and visit them. And she became like a big sister to me. And after my daughter Susan was born, we asked Hank and Tink if they would be her godparents. So Tink was a very, very important part of my life. And every time I have some ripe bananas, I make her banana bread and think of her. This is a recipe, it was a standard at the Johnson household when we would go over and visit them in Frankfurt, Germany, and also then in Raleigh, North Carolina. Real simple recipe. It's easy. Unlike a lot of recipes I grew up with that always start out with a can of chicken soup or a can of mushroom soup, this has tomato sauce in it. And it's, my kids really enjoyed this. I'll have to make it. Green pepper chopped, onion chopped. Got those things in the house most often. It's ready in about a half an hour. Good recipe, good memories of her. Okay, this is one of the favorite recipes I've ever received from my dear mother-in-law, Betty Overturf. It's in her handwriting. I have many recipes from her, but over the years they've just faded away. So this one is pretty clear, and it's always one of the party favorites around here. Um, Everything that I have on hand all the time: garlic, Parmesan cheese, mayo, and artichokes, and it's so good served on crackers. Anyway, haven't made this for a while, but it sure is good. And this is Betty Overturf's beef stew, and I haven't made this in a long time either, but it calls for, stew meat, celery, carrots, onions. She used a can of onions, and I don't know what that means. I would just chop some up, and potatoes, and put everything in a casserole dish. She adds a can of green beans, which can be added. You can put anything in there. You can put corn, whatever, and a can of tomatoes, and then a quarter of a cup of tapioca. Tapioca is used to almost like flour or cornstarch to thicken it up a little bit. And this is bakes at 275 for 6 hours. So it's an all day. Put it in the morning, and by night you got dinner, and your house smells darn good. Okay, this is the recipe. You may not even want to put that on there, Dave, because it's so faded. Um, it's one of the first recipes I got from Betty Overturf, and it's what we call the Christmas casserole. And it's bread cubes, cheese, little pig sausages chopped up, eggs, rye mustard, milk. You make it. You set it the night before Christmas, and then cook it on Christmas morning. And one funny story about this: when I would fly to Chicago to visit my daughter and her family when the boys were growing up, um, the second oldest one, Bo, never did like the souffle. His older brother Tyler did, but Bo never got used to it. So one Christmas, I was invited to come, and Bo turned to his mother and says, "Well, Granny can come, but she can leave her souffle at home." This is Gretchen Crippen's recipe. A friend of my daughter Susan's. I was a Girl Scout leader for my daughter's friends for maybe 3 or 4 years. And one of the people that we hung out with quite a bit was Gretchen Crippen. And this recipe comes from her family. And I don't make a full recipe, because as you can look at the ingredients, it calls for a dozen eggs, 3 pounds of peanut butter. You wear yourself out and you have to have a nap before they're all baked. Although now I'm really good about freezing dough and pulling them out. But this has been my grandkids' favorite, especially the grandsons.